Well, last month we debuted a brand new segment on Yarborough that we're going to do once a month for the foreseeable future. We call it Age Well Tennessee. A lot of our listeners, this will certainly, hopefully, provide you some information and some resources about a lot of things that might be impacting your life. It's Nick Keene, Senior Benefit Incorporated, who's back with us again today. Nick, how you doing, sir?
Hey, Bob. Thanks for having us in, sir.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
Yes, sir.
We're just days away.
Yeah.
Aaron Bradley's Director of East Tennessee Area Agency on Aging and Disability. Aaron, good morning, and Merry Christmas to you, too, sir.
Hey, Bob, Merry Christmas to you.
So last month, we kind of dove into this. Oh, by the way, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Director David Rausch, former KPD chief here, Knoxville Police Chief here, is going to join us in about 10 minutes or so. And we're going to discuss further the financial exploitation and the crimes against older Tennesseans. But, Aaron, before we get into really a lot of that kind of thing, explain to folks about the Area Agency on Aging and Disability and a lot of the great resources that are available for them.
We're a great place to start your calling if you have a need. We have that toll-free number that we shared last month that we can share again before the segment's over.
Yeah, please
today.
Please do.
The bottom line is we provide a lot of services in the community to help folks remain independent. We provide legal services. If you have a loved one in a nursing home, we do investigations and complaint resolution. We just offer a wide range of services. One of the most important things we do, I think, Bob, is we connect people to other services that we may not provide. So we're a great conduit for direct service, but also a great conduit to community services.
So if you can't find the answer, you can point them in the direction to somebody who can.
We almost always know how to do that. Now, sometimes we'll get stumped and we'll have to say, we'll call you back, but we will call you back. But we're kind of the first one-stop shop, if you will, for aging services in East Tennessee.
Kind of run through a checklist of some of the things that folks can call and get more information or more resources on.
If they're looking for housing alternatives, if they're looking for long-term care alternatives, if they're looking to access Medicaid Choices services, if they're looking for elder law support, if they're looking for a nursing home issue, if they're looking for home care, if they're looking for transportation, you name it, we either provide it or we know who does in the community.
So you really do cover just about everything that might be of interest.
We try our best, Bob, to do that because, as you might expect, we get all kinds of calls every day.
Last month, we got into financial exploitation crimes, which is a really big deal here in Tennessee, and I think maybe it's a bigger deal than folks might actually realize here. Talk about, Aaron, your perspective on financial exploitation of senior citizens.
The numbers are just mind-boggling. Bob, I mentioned last time it's about $500 million. It may be actually more than that. When I say that number out loud, I'm asking myself, how could that be? But when you have a population of 1.5 million over age 60 in our state, then the numbers become a little more palatable. You understand that if you've got a high incidence of financial exploitation, a lot of those 1.5 million folks are being taken advantage of. Unfortunately, about half of it is at the hands of family and friends. And then you look at that 50%, about 70% of that has a connection to drug addiction. So a lot of times a family member who has an addiction, they need to support that addiction with money. Sometimes, unfortunately, they turn toward parents and grandparents to get that money.
When it comes to financial exploitation of older Tennesseans, is this a seasonal thing? Is like during the holidays it kind of peaks a little bit more, it spikes, or is this simply just a year-round thing?
It's a year-round thing, but I'm glad you brought this up because the reason we're here, primarily SBI, is part of this presentation. They're actually paying the bills for us to be on the air. They have a sensitivity in this space equal to ours. They want to try to protect folks in the community. But when you look at this problem, it is a year-round problem, but when the economy turns down, the numbers go up. And when folks lose jobs, the numbers go up. So it does move during the course of the year, but it's almost always tied to the economy. Bad economy means more abuse.
Why don't you give the 800 number real quickly, Aaron?
I'd love to, Bob, but I don't have it right in front of me.
Okay.
Next segment, okay?
Let me dig that out, Bob.
Ooh. I just threw him under the bus, didn't I?
And we're all still laughing, so it's all good.
Oh, man. All right, so you sit tight. We'll get you that 800 number. Aaron, my apologies, man. You know, I thought I had learned by now, don't ask questions that you've not already, kind of warned somebody about. But, boy, I just did it, didn't I?
I set myself up, Bob. I said, we need to give out that number again. And
okay.
We'll find it.
You got it. Nick, with Senior Benefit Incorporated, I know you guys handle a lot of insurance, Medicare, supplemental, that kind of thing. But as Aaron kind of alluded to, you guys are looking for red flags as well when you're talking to folks. What types of things, trigger you and say, hey, I need to dive into this a little bit more?
Yes. So, one of the things that we're sensitive to here, Bob, is, as we onboard clients and have them over an extended period of time, we get to know them. We get to know what their patterns are. We get to know what their routines are. We get to know the way they think, right? One of the biggest red flags for us in our limited capacity is sudden changes, right? Whether that be an individual that's just come in out of the picture that's never been in the picture, whether that be maybe money hasn't always been as big of an issue and now all of a sudden that's the only driving force, right? Sudden changes are what we look for. But what I would like to say, to echo Aaron's point, it's never too early to report an instance of fraud or elder abuse, right? The best thing that can happen is it's unjustified, right? Then we move on and nothing happens. But if it is justified, somebody needs to know, right? And one thing that Aaron will echo the same as we will is with this space, if they're doing it to someone, there's a high likelihood that they're doing it to somebody else as well, right? So, our biggest challenge a lot of times is we deal with family members, friends that are the challenging individuals in these situations, right? But we want people to know, speak up. It's not just you that could be being affected. It's your neighbors, it's your friends, it's your families, it's your peers that are also being negatively affected.
What you said I love is, okay, you have a suspicion something might be going on. You bring some attention to it. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. And no harm, no foul, right?
Sure.
But if there is something there, maybe you're making a big difference. Okay, Aaron, I think you're you're ready. You're ready now. Yes, the 800 number. Here we go.
Actually, I have more than that for you.
Okay.
1-866-836-6678. I'll do that again. 1-866-836-6678. And we also have an email address for referrals if you want me to share that, Bob.
Sure, absolutely.
It's just ETAAD for East Tennessee Area Agency on Aging and Disability .referral, REFERRAL, at ETHRA.org. And, of course, the area agency is part of the East Tennessee Human Resource Agency, and we've been around for about 45 years.
We're expecting Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Director David Rausch, former Knoxville Police Chief, to join us to talk about statewide financial exploitation crimes against older Tennesseans. It's a big problem here, and Director Rausch will join us next on Age Well Tennessee here on Yarborough and News Talk 98.7. Bob Yarborough here with Senior Benefit Inc., located in the heart of Knoxville since 1995. SBI is your one-stop shop for all products Medicare related. SBI is a local family-owned company specializing in Medicare market sales. So whether you're new to Medicare, you've been on Medicare and want to review your options, or are looking to save money on your current coverage, they've got you covered. Call SBI today and get your questions answered and see what your savings could be. 844-437-4253. Aaron Bradley is the director of East Tennessee Area Agency on Aging and Disability. And Nick Keene is with Senior Benefit Incorporated. This is Age Well Tennessee. We'll do this once a month for the foreseeable future. We started this last month, and this is our second installment of this. So a lot of information, a lot of resources available if you want to touch base with the Area Agency on Aging and Disability. The number is 866-836-6678. And today, from Nashville, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Director David Rausch joins us here on Yarborough. Director Rausch, I know you came in many times here when you were police chief in Knoxville. We appreciate that time then. We certainly appreciate it today. How you been?
Hey, Bob, thanks. I've been great. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to chat.
It's good to have you back in. We've been discussing financial exploitation crimes against older Tennesseans. And to say it's a big issue in the state of Tennessee probably is a vast understatement. How do you get across to folks just how significant this issue is in Tennessee?
Well, Bob, it is a huge issue, right? So unfortunately, the numbers that we report, the $500 million that is annually lost, is quite frankly a major undercount. And the reason I say that is because the vast majority of these incidents, the exploitation that takes place, is done by family members. And there is a reluctance to bring that forward to the legal system. And so we know that this amount is undercounted and underreported. And it's a horrible crime that's just getting worse. As we continue to get older, I'm in that boat as well. As we continue to get older, the opportunity for exploitation rises, and we know that the vast majority of the wealth in this state is held by those 60 and older, and so it is a serious issue. It's a serious crime. It is something that can be prevented with just information like you're putting out with this show.
Tell me about some of the new resources you're working on there at TBI to address these concerns.
Well, so we have been working very closely with financial institutions, with areas on aging, to have a conversation about how can we do more to both educate and to prevent this crime from happening. The one thing we hear, so the district attorney generals throughout the state, 32 of them, have done a great job of putting in place laws, working with our General Assembly, to put in place laws to protect individuals, both seniors and vulnerable adults, who could fall into these situations. The problem is, Bob, is when these incidents happen, the money is gone. There's no way of recovering it. And so what we want to do is work toward educating the public on how to avoid being involved in one of these incidents, either a scam or even a family member taking from you. And so we're working very closely with the financial institutions and the various other groups to, come up with a plan to prevent these things from happening. Education is key, but also immediately taking action. There's a law in place that's called the pause law. The pause law allows financial institutions to halt a transaction if there is a belief that there's potential fraud that is connected. And so, unfortunately, your banks and financial institutions don't want to be known as the place you can't get your money from when you want it. And so they're hesitant to put that into place. They just don't know. And so what we're talking with them, we had a request that if there was a 911 for financial institutions, to have the conversation with someone that could give them good advice. That would be great. And so when they said that, I took that back to the team, and they said, we do call centers really well. We could stand up a call center that would assist in this and provide those resources and the connectivity of if there is an issue or an incident where someone's trying to steal from a senior or a vulnerable adult, then we could be the ones that give the advice and say, pause it, and then hand it off to the district attorney general's offices to investigate. That would be a major game changer in this space. It would keep the money from being stolen and would provide that comfort to the bank, that be able to tell that person, listen, this is the advice that the TBI has given us. Let us work through this, and we will be able to get back with you. And so it provides that level of protection, but it also it protects the money, but it also provides the next level of investigative opportunity.
All right, let me make sure I understand this. So the banks certainly don't want to become known as being difficult to get your money out, but if they do see something that might catch their attention, they get in touch with this dedicated call center. You guys review it quickly. You get back with them and say, nah, let's move forward, green light it, or yeah, we need to look a little more in there. Do I have that kind of in a nutshell?
Yeah, Bob, that's spot on. Exactly what it is. It gives that person at the financial institution the comfort and confidence that they're making the right decision.
What kind of reception are you getting from banks and credit unions across the state? I know possibly 100% your ultimate goal. Where do you stand on that? Is this still in the works?
It's still in the works, but we've had great conversations with their unions and organized groups that work with them, their associations. There is a lot of interest. There is a lot of support for the concept, and so we're working through that with our legislators to move it from concept into action. Some of our legislators have been amazingly open to it. Lieutenant Governor has been very active working with us, as well as Senator Massey there in Knoxville. And so there are a number of legislators that are very interested. The financial institutions are all on board. They like the idea. And more than anything, I think all of us are really focused on the main point, and that is to prevent the loss from happening, because it can have an extended cost. Beyond that individual, it ends up costing the state and the federal government when someone has all of their wealth that is stolen from them.
This is Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Director David Rausch with us, talking about the financial exploitation crimes against older Tennesseans. Real quickly, Director Rausch, you mentioned that the $500 million in crimes against older Tennesseans. You think that number is low. What would you estimate the actual number to be?
Oh, I'd put it well over $1 billion.
Wow.
It is. It's well over that. I mean, if you think about it again, the vast majority of these exploitation cases happen as a result of someone in the immediate family. And that is just not reported. And I get it. I understand. You don't want to send your loved one to prison. But we also can't stand for this activity. And here's the other part to that. Generally, if you dig deep enough, there is a unfortunate issue that we have going not only in Tennessee but throughout the country with addiction. And it is going to be connected almost every time when you see this. Is there's going to be an addiction issue that someone in the family has, and they're using that unfortunately that older adult as the ability for them to fulfill the addiction that they have, and so they're taking those riches and using it to get their fix. And so it's this cyclical issue that we're dealing with, and unfortunately, addiction is a big part of this.
All right, Director Rausch, I believe Aaron's got a comment or question for you.
Director, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today, number one, and thank you for your leadership in this space. You've made a huge difference in the last several years. You've been the TBI director, and I just wanted to say that publicly. The other thing that I wanted to mention in this space is the piece you connected with drug addiction, but also the prevention. As long as we've been working in this, we've all looked at each other and said to each other, once the money's gone, it's gone, and it's almost never recovered. And when we presented the Oak Ridge model to you guys and your team a year and a half ago, and you came up with a call center idea, in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, in a 10-month period, Bob, a detective working with the institutions there in Oak Ridge recovered or saved $3.5 million just in Oak Ridge. So when the director says it's $500 million plus, it may be over $1 billion. If you look at national research, only 1 in 44 cases are reported. So the numbers are just sky high. Again, Director, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. And you're right. And the models that we look at, think about what he just said about Oak Ridge, right? So a small city, $3 million saved by one investigator. You multiply that by the 450 or whatever cities we have in the state of Tennessee. That's what's happening, and in your bigger cities, that number is going to be much more. And so your Knoxville's, your Nashville's, your Memphis, your Chattanooga's, it's going to be much higher. And so that's why I say this number is so underreported, and the issue is much bigger than what we realize.
Director Rausch, thank you much for your time. Longtime friend of News Talk 98.7, former Knoxville Police Chief, and it's always good to hear from you. I really would like to talk to you on a fairly regular basis about what's going on at the TBI and just any other things you might want to get out to the folks.
Hey, I appreciate it, Bob. I'm happy to speak with you. As always, I love East Tennessee, love Knoxville. I still have family there, and I'm over there frequently, and happy to come on the show or at any time, anything that you want to discuss. There are a lot of things happening, as you know, throughout our state, and there's pretty much if it's got crime involved, TBI is connected. We're doing something with it, and so you guys have a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas to you, blessed and happy New Year's.
Thank you
to all of you. And
Thank you much. Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Director David Rausch, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you as well, Director. Final comments, Nick Keene with Senior Benefit Incorporated.
Just want to thank Director Rausch for coming on today and sharing his insight, as we keep going forward, Bob. Before you know it, we'll be back for Episode 3 of Age Well Tennessee. Have some exciting new information. Just would like to throw it out there. We talked about on the last show, Bob, if you're out there listening, you're going at things alone. If you need help, there's a number of resources out there. Aaron has shared several from his agency, and you can always reach out to us at SBI, 844-437-4253. If we can't answer your question, we know some good people that can.
Yeah.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody, Bob, and we'll be back soon.
Yeah, gotta prevent this stuff on the front end from happening so it doesn't get too complex, and that's what we're trying to do, Aaron.
And that's really the key, Bob, is get ahead of it and give folks information so they can protect themselves and also work with those in the community that can support older adults in this space.
Let me give that number again, 866-836-6678 for the East Tennessee Area Agency on Aging and Disability. Whatever your questions are, they'll point you in the right direction or just give you the answer right there. And thanks again to Danny and Nick and all the whole crew there at Senior Benefit Incorporated. Let's do it again in a month or so, gang. You good?
Sounds good.
All right.
Sounds great.
Merry Christmas.